guys, welcome back to the video. Today we are reacting to how to survive a nuclear fallout. How to survive a nuclear fallout, the science of fallout by the game theorists. So you probably already know that there's a light there. Why do you have light? Why do I have light? To improve the quality of my videos. You already know a lot of YouTubers have light so that it's brighter. People can see their face. So that's why I have a light there. Because why not? I'm testing out my new light and let's see if it's good. So in 3, 2, 1, let's react.
Dear Bethesda, what the heck is going on with the rest of the world? Oh crap, I almost forgot to say the thing. Hi, it's me, Austin.
It's
you thought I
Austin
was
again.
done with you, didn't you? But nope, I got all sorts of crap rattling inside of my head to overanalyze with the powers of science. And today, I'm finally going to tackle the biggest question that's always bugged me, the plague on my brain for years that I've wondered about. What is going on with the rest of the world outside of the United States in the Fallout games? We have a lot to tackle today, from extensive, nerdy, nitty-gritty lore, social sciences, global trade numbers, ecology, meteorology, and God knows how much else. So let's get down to business to defeat the Todd.
There's a Todd.
Okay, that was terrible, but I have bronchitis right now, and I regret nothing. All right, so my show is called The Science. So let's
Where's
do
the
some
game theory intro? Where's the game theory intro? Is it gonna play? Because we're already 1 minute into the video and there's still no game theory intro. Why is there no intro? Is it because only MatPat videos have the game theory intro? Only videos that include MatPat in them have the game theory intros? Because before MatPat didn't have, because before one video, I don't know what video that was. Before one video, there was no intro. I don't know why, but they just forgot the intro. The editors forgot the intro. But let's get right into the news.
Legit science using the scientific method. Step 1 is ask a question, and we did that. What the hell is going on in the rest of the world? Step 2 is do some background research, which we'll get to in a second. We're gonna skip to step number 3, the most fun part. Construct a hypothesis. I think given all we know about Fallout lore, from the size of the nukes, the strike zones of various countries, and all the data given to us in the games, that most of the world, specifically countries in Africa, South America, and Switzerland specifically, are thriving as futuristic utopias, while the rest of the world looks like, well, like this. But before we can go over why this is, well,
why
step aside real quick and flex my shoddy cast muscles and let an old friend of mine carry us a bit.
Tamriel.
So this is Fallout. I've never played Fallout before. And I probably will never get to play Fallout because this computer can't handle any game. I downloaded Baldi's Basics and it didn't work. It just crashed. So I don't know why my computer's like that. It probably can't handle Fallout. The only thing that it can handle is certain support. That's everything. So yeah, this computer, 2 GB of RAM. That's probably why I can't play Baldi's Basics on this computer, because it has 2 GB of RAM. So let's get right into the news.
In the back when times, before the bombs dropped, America was, well, it was different. Starvation was rampant. Cars sat in front of houses, undriven. People were hiding in their homes, encouraged by the United States government to avoid ice cream socials because of a virulent disease known as the New Plague that was ravaging the world. And in April 1952, the resource wars began. As oil fields across the world ran dry, nation fought against nation over the last drops of fossil fuel that they needed to keep the exponentially increasing demands for energy met. Europe went to war with the Middle East over rising oil
So this
prices.
is like World War II, but another story of World War II. It's not the actual World War II. It was. So Fallout is like World War II. The past of it was World War II, but the present of Fallout is not World War. It's not after the World War II. It's completely different. Because now America's living good, and Fallout is, yeah. I think this is like World War II. The past of Fallout is World War II, and I'm just learning about this game. Okay, let's get right into the reaction.
Prices, and less
Probably
than 3
organic
months
war.
after the resource wars began, the
2052.
United Nations crumbled. The resource wars dragged
Well,
on for generations,
So
erupting
resource wars is like World War II, and 2052 is like where the World War III. Is this World War II or World War III? I'm getting confused now.
in battlefields and proxy wars across the entire globe. For 25 years, the biggest
So
superpowers
this is
with
the World War III? Is this World War III? I don't know.
the biggest energy demands burned away the last vestiges of the very resources they were fighting over until there
Okay.
was nothing left. In the end, it was between the United States and the Chinese Red State. America had annexed Mexico and Canada to complete supply lines, dominating, finally and officially, the entirety of the continent. In 2066, Westech unveiled the
2066.
first crude
So this is the
microfusion
future.
cell, a technology that would revolutionize
2066 is the future of World War III. So 2052 was World War III. Not was, because 2052 has not happened before. But in this game, the fallout of 2052 is World War III? I don't know. I think it's World War III.
the world and alleviate
Because they said United Nations crumbled. Because United Nations began. It was United Nations, UN. United Nations began when World War II stopped because they wanted to make friendship. So this is probably World War III because World War III has not happened. So it's probably World War III. No. I just hope that World War III does not happen. Anyway,
energy demands everywhere by
video's
using
already,
hydrogen, the
8
most
minutes.
abundant element in the
And
entire
only
universe,
3
as a
minutes
source
into
of
the video.
fuel.
I'm sorry.
Unfortunately,
I'm
it
sorry.
was too little, too late. In spite of their best efforts,
So resource wars is
microfusion
like
technology just couldn't
World
hit
War
the
III, I
mainstream
think.
market fast enough to stop the inevitable. 13 years later, on
13
October
years
23rd,
later.
2077, at
2077.
9:47 in the morning Eastern
That's
Time,
in the
nuclear
future?
fire erupted across the United States. In 2 hours, as dictated by the mutually assured destruction military doctrine, every nuclear-capable nation on Earth launched
Just
their
learning about this
arsenals
game,
on their enemies.
because
In
I've
1/10
never-
millionth of
I
a
have heard of
percent
it,
of the
but
total time
I've
humanity
never
has
played
been
it,
on Earth.
and I have never
Irrevocably,
seen-
humanity was
never
changed
saw
forever.
anyone that has
And
played
this
it.
is now the world we live in.
So the nuclear fallout. So this is the aftermath of the nuclear fallout. So this theory is about how to survive the nuclear fallout. I think I get it. I think I get the theory and the game.
The safe word is Asimov.
Man, I miss that guy. Anyway, this is
Not
most of the lore that
non-family
you'll need,
friendly.
but
Is
here's
this
some
age restricted? It's not age restricted. What the heck?
extra.
What
The
was
bombs
that?
used primarily in the Great War, the event that caused the world of Fallout, were relatively small. Relatively.
War.
According to the Fallout 1 manual,
like
which,
Great
if you're an
War?
aspiring lore or science junkie, I highly recommend because this thing is deeply researched. It's
Deeply
bananas. Anyway,
researched.
according to the manual,
Bananas.
most huge Tsar
Bananas.
Bomba style bombs had been retired because smaller bombs could actually potentially be more destructive
Potentially.
because they don't launch radioactive fallout nearly as high into the air, but in instead pepper it down in the surrounding area where it can cause lasting, irreparable harm to the local residents and environment. In a science video that I did approximately 100 years ago, I calculated that it would take approximately 66,676 of these weapons to turn America, including Mexico and Canada, China, Russia, Europe, and the Middle East into the irradiated, useless wastes that we see today, which is a lot of nukes. When fission bombs, bombs that are created by forcing fissile material like uranium to undergo a nuclear chain reaction where the atomic bits flying off piece by piece trigger other atoms to fling other bits off, which yada yada yada, which releases a butt-ton of energy in the form of heat and gamma rays, which are high-energy photons. They blast apart as this energy expands, and unfortunately, most of the fissile material doesn't actually get to react. Instead, these highly radioactive metals vaporize and get spread out in a hot dust cloud. This is what radioactive fallout is. It literally, falls out of the sky. Most of the radioactive material is carried up into the hot clouds of gas that rise from ground zero, known as a mushroom cloud because, well, look at it. Anyway, in really high energy detonations that are measured in megatons, these clouds can rise really high into the air, into the troposphere, where most of the radioactive material will hang out for, well, a pretty long time. The negative is that this will block sunlight across the globe as the debris spreads across the Earth, which in the case of one detonation is not that huge of a deal. But in the event of something like fallout, oh God, this would create a nuclear winter that could last for God knows how long. Thankfully, though, in the day and age of Fallout's Great War, the nukes were much...
If there's no sunlight, that would not be good at all, because it will always be cold and there's nothing to warm us. So...
smaller, since there's diminishing returns on the destructive blast radius with higher yields, which requires exponentially more uranium to create exponentially diminishing blast zones with an exponentially increasing cost to construct them. At 750 kilotons, most nuclear debris won't reach the troposphere, forgoing a nuclear-induced death cloud of winter. This also has the added bonus of making the bombs infinitely more deadly, since all that dangerous radioactive metal will rain down on anybody unfortunate enough to have survived the initial blast, seeping into the dirt, plants, and working its way up the food chain into animals and humans, where it will cause all sorts of cancers. Just all of them. All the cancers. Why am I telling you all of this?
That's terrifying.
Why go over the, well, okay, not really the nitty-gritty, because I really wanted to get into the detailed physics of mushroom clouds, but there's no time! Anyway, why focus on the bomb sizes so much? Because, well, it turns out that this smaller yield of bomb completely changes the global impact of a massive scale nuclear war. For one thing, it narrows the impact of radioactive materials to the local areas, mainly in this case, the United States, Europe, Russia, and China. And in order to understand why this is important in figuring out how the other countries in the world are faring, we gotta talk about the military doctrine that makes this all possible. Mutually assured destruction.
Mutually assured destruction.
Mutually assured destruction.
Mad. Look at that. It's mad. Mad destruction.
Shortened to MAD, as in you'd have to be out of your freaking mind to put this theory to the test, is a military doctrine that became gospel during the Cold War. With the invention of nuclear weaponry and the proof that they were utterly devastating during Hiroshima and Nagasaki, owners of these demonstrably destructive weapons capable of upending entire regions silently agreed to a basic idea. I won't nuke you if you do not nuke me. If anybody broke this agreement, all hell would break loose, and, well, everyone would die. But the most important thing to keep in mind is that while the gun is pointed at everyone's head, it's only pointed at the heads of those who are armed. It's a Mexican standoff where everyone with a gun is at risk. But if you don't have a gun, you're not even playing the same game. So in the case of the Great War, only nuclear powers are at risk, meaning people who either have no nuclear capability or at least not a significant enough one to be a large threat are off the table, which means specifically only major countries that were
it can the nuclear smoke of the nuclear bombs and the radiation of the nuclear bombs can go to other countries, even though they're targeted at the major countries, they can go to other countries. It can spread around, and that will probably be the destruction of the earth. They're not thinking of this, Austin. It can spread. So the people that are not getting targeted are still gonna be at risk, because the smoke and radiation are gonna spread around the world, and yeah, all heck will be loose.
We're fighting in the resource wars. China, Southeast Asia, Russia, Europe, the Middle East, and North America are targets. This means that countries in Africa...
No, they're not good. Because, look at this. Saudi Arabia is close to Africa. So, if Saudi Arabia is close to Africa, then the nukes... I'm just pretending, okay? I'm just pretending. It's just an example. The nukes in Saudi Arabia, and the smoke and the radiation in Saudi Arabia will spread to Africa. And here, if they get targeted, right? And if North America gets targeted, then South America is at risk too, because it spreads. Southeast Asia, look at that. That's my hometown. It will still spread. So because so much nukes, they're targeting Asia right here. It will spread to all of Asia. It will spread to all of Asia if all those countries are targeted. So India will still be at risk because China is gonna get targeted, and then India is gonna get targeted because India's not gonna get targeted, but it will spread to India. We're not thinking of this, Austin.
Egypt and Angola, large oil exporters, and South America, except for probably Venezuela, are not only safe from nuclear oblivion, but are
They're not safe. It will spread. They will not be safe. They're gonna. Are you thinking of this, Austin? The radiation will spread. The smoke will spread. They're at risk because their lungs can't handle the smoke. There's no oxygen in the country, so they will still be at risk. They will not be targeted, but they'll still be at risk of like lung disease or something like that, because there's no oxygen and they can't breathe. If there's no oxygen, if all of the countries are targeted, the whole world will be at risk because the smoke is spreading and the radiation is spreading crazily. And you're not thinking of this.
Probably thriving. But why would these nations thrive in a world where 80% of the world economy has been obliterated and all energy reserves are gone? One word. Nuclear. Not one word. Oh my god, I can't even count. 2 words. Nuclear fusion.
Nuclear fusion.
Nuclear
Why is
fusion.
Austin not thinking of this? I mean, it's logical. Is there something that I'm forgetting here? It can spread, right? Smoke can spread. And radiation can spread, so they're still at risk of lung disease. Yeah, their lungs will not breathe.
More specifically, microfusion was on track to stop the resource wars, and by extension, the Great War, by providing the world with basically infinite energy for everything. But it couldn't spread fast enough. Hydrogen, the fuel that's easiest to fuse, also happens to be the most abundant element in the universe. With the biggest antagonists and exploiters on the planet out of the way, African and South American countries have a massive power vacuum to fill with little to no resistance, and now effectively infinite energy. Now, things would be rough to start with. The United States, Netherlands, Germany, France, China, Spain, Canada, Belgium, and Italy all rank in the top 10 food exporters in the world. Whereas Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Democratic Republic of Congo, Djibouti, Eritrea, and Ethiopia are all in the top 10 food importers in the world, meaning that they don't have the capacity at the moment to grow their own food sustainably for their population. Africa and South America are among the richest regions on Earth when it comes to natural resources. And while the
When it said Africa was the richest, wait, what? It was like, what? People are starving there. How are they the richest? Okay. At natural resources. Okay. Yeah, I get it. The richest at natural resources, but they're not richest in money because people are starving there.
Global trade balance would totally be screwed for years, maybe even decades, having survived the nuclear holocaust with governments and social programs intact and their biggest competitors and
Yeah, probably the government of like Chad is probably rich because they, I don't know, they have like natural resources. Africa has the most natural resources, so they're probably rich. The presidents of Africa are probably rich because they have the resources. And the people that are in Africa that are starving, they're not rich. So, help the starving people in Africa.
and most importantly, exploiters out of the picture and the biggest energy advancement in history at their disposal, these countries would be blowing the hell up, metaphorically. Even food isn't a problem because Brazil is one of the largest food exporters in the entire world. Working together, these nations could dominate the planet. But if that's
Number
the
one,
case,
Victory
why don't
Royale.
we see them in Fallouts 1 through 4? Why aren't they colonizing? Well, for a few reasons. One, why would they? America, China, Russia, they suck now. They're radioactive, drained of natural resources. Why bother? Screw them.
Why
Let them
bother?
rot. Two, maybe they do a little bit. The Rangers in Fallout New Vegas are mentioned as having fought in Baja against a strong military as the new
Baja, what? Baja? In this country, the Philippines, they'll teach you some Philippine language. Baja means flood. Like, if it's flooding, that's Baja. Flood. That means flood. Baja means flood. If you say there's Baja, that means it's flooding. If you say there's Baja, that means it's flooding. Yeah.
California Republic attempts to spread south. They could easily be coming into conflict with South American colonies and militaries. And three, maybe they're all dead.
Maybe.
Wait. I just realized they could all actually be dead. Oh God, maybe everyone is actually doomed. And I missed it all. Dang it! All right, let's take a look at this scientific method again. Oh, okay, can't really experiment other than dropping real nukes. I'll just cross this bit out and put overthink stuff. Wait, I think there was something. Here it is.
Big Bada Boom book.
In models from the latest studies in the effects of nuclear war involving an exchange of only 100 World War II-sized nukes, many times smaller than the ones used in Fallout, and much less than my conservative estimate of 66,000, there'd be global famine and death regardless of location due to a global temperature drop of over 6 degrees Celsius on average, shortening growing season.
Holy! Under 6 degrees. That's like winter right there. That's like Antarctica. Oh my!
Just a couple of months in the hottest places on Earth, and even then they might not get enough sun to actually grow anything. But why? Why is this happening if the nukes aren't launching radioactive fallout high enough to cause nuclear winter? Because it isn't caused by the initial explosions. It's caused by the aftermath. Raging infernos.
Yeah, raging infernos. I thought he will say it's spreading, but stop mentioning that, okay?
Nuclear weapons are hot enough to light concrete on fire, and the fires that would rage for months, maybe years afterwards, would dump tons, literal tons of soot and ash into the air. More specifically, hot ash would rise into the stratosphere. Up here,
it'll spread too, right? It'll still spread. And that will cause people to die. Because lung disease said if there's still not enough doctors, if there's doctors that get lung disease, you're not able to treat the people that have lung disease, so it will just be Yeah, people not breathing. And if people don't breathe, they will suffocate. If people suffocate, they will die.
Would absorb and reflect sunlight away from the Earth. To get a sense of why this is a bad thing, check out this wind model from earth.nullschool.net. This is wind patterns on the surface. Nuclear fallout would stay largely regional here, moving a bit, but not a lot. But this is wind at the stratosphere. Soot would rise up from the nations that were bombed for literal months and sweep across the entire northern hemisphere.
Yeah,
before
it's spreading.
slowly seeping into the south.
Yeah, it's spreading. That's why, because it's spreading. You don't think of that. Will spread.
Blocking the sun across the entire...
Yeah, it will still spread to the stratosphere. Or troposphere. I don't know what that thing is. Atmosphere is. Cut that out! Cut that out! Okay, so the stratosphere and the troposphere. I think that's what it's called. Will spread to the troposphere. And it will cover the whole Earth, and there's not gonna be sunlight, and it will be Antarctica temperature. Spreading,
Globe in less than a year. This would last for decades, making growing food utterly impossible, and food stores would be entirely exhausted in a couple years tops. New hypothesis. These countries, the entire world is doomed. The only countries to survive are the Americans hidden in vaults that aren't experimental vaults meant to drive them insane, anybody who hid in China and Russia, and the entirety of Switzerland, which has enough fallout shelters right now to protect their entire population.
Wow.
This is really it. This is it. You know what sucks the most about this? This is the best case scenario.
Switzerland is ready. Switzerland is ready. They're ready to fight. They have fallout shelters for everyone, for the whole population.
The Fallout games are the best case scenario should mutually assured destruction be realized. What's far more likely is the complete and total extinction of every human on Earth. Great! Just
great.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
And just for fun, there's still over 14,000 nuclear warheads on Earth right now. Nowhere near the amount needed to falloutify the entire Western and Eastern civilization, but way more than enough to create global famine many times over. Just great. We're all doomed.
We're all doomed.
Yay!
I don't say yay.
Sincerely, Austin.
So yeah, guys, that was how to survive a nuclear fallout, the science of fallout. So yeah, I learned something about fallout, and I said it will spread. And I thought people would get lung disease everywhere. I think that was the plot twist of Austin. People would get lung disease everywhere, but it's because of the cold temperatures. It's because of Antarctica temperatures. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and of course, peace to all the people that have peace.